This weekend's adventure takes us to Camp Mountain Lake Haunted Abandoned Cabins in Tracy City, Tennessee. Exclusive for Ghost Hunt Weekends. We're going to have about 40 fans join us this weekend for dinner at the Dutch Maid Bakery and a 4-location ghost hunt with Mike and Chris from the Tennessee Wraith Chasers and the entire Ghost Hunt Weekends crew. This is the activity building. It was once used for activities for the camp when it was a youth camp. During one of our Ghost Hunt Weekends, we transformed this into a dining room, complete with a stage and tables and a buffet for everyone to enjoy dinner. It's empty now, but I'll put a photo up on the video here to show you how we transformed it. 2 cargo trailers full of chairs, tables, stage, sound, and lights. Turn this empty building into a Ghost Hunt Weekends experience. A little too much work for this weekend. We're going to have dinner at the Dutch Maid Bakery instead. This cabin here is named the Colonel's Quarters. Ironically, I'm a colonel. And naturally, this will be my cabin that I will be staying in. Complete with a fire pit and a beautiful view of the lake. Here's a view of the front of the cabin. The cabin at the bottom is called Base Camp, and that's going to be the one that Chris and Mike will be staying in. These are glamping cabins. Some of our crew are using these. Safety first for our guests. Here's our health center. I don't think it'll be manned this weekend. Another view of the abandoned cabins, once used as a refugee camp for displaced Germans and Filipinos from World War II, and later on in 1945, turned into a summer camp for children. It's a pretty eerie feeling with the sound of the wind blowing through the trees. And I'm up here pretty much alone, and acorns are falling, hitting the metal roof of these cabins. This was a woodworking shed where they did all kinds of woodworking activities when this was a camp for the children. This was a cafeteria at one time. Now it's used for storage. The Dutch Maid Bakery and Cafe, the oldest continually operated bakery in Tennessee. This was the first stop of our event. We had about 60 people with us this weekend, where we had dinner upstairs in the bakery, and then we got to ghost hunt this entire building. This is the Old City Cemetery in Tracy City, where our investigation was last night at some specific areas with unbelievable responses. A lot of graves here from the 18 and 1900s. Really creepy vibe here. So here we are in the cemetery, the Old City Cemetery, and this is where we had our investigation last night. And let me tell you, it did not disappoint. We had amazing EVPs here, growling and noises. I do want to show you this one. This right here behind me is a crypt, and also some kind of grave that looks like it's falling all in. I don't know, but this is definitely an old cemetery here. And rumor is that this crypt behind me, that this crypt here has actually a person sitting up in a chair instead of in a coffin, and they built this crypt around him. And it has a woman's name on it. We came here one time, and there was actually a rock, or one of the bricks was actually chiseled out, and you could see inside of it. There was another wall inside, so we couldn't. There's two walls in here. It does say Mary Fry, 1794 to 1880s, 80 plus. I don't know what that means, but anyways. It's a little American flag on here. So I'm not sure if that's even 100% true. I'm trying to get information from the Historical Society. And where we are now is another grave of interest, because this town here had a lot of Nazi sympathizers during World War II, because some of the people that were born and raised in this town ended up joining the Nazi party in Germany during World War II, and they ended up being high-ranking people in that. And look at this grave here. It actually has swastikas on it. And now that was kind of a fashion thing. It's a different, back then in the 1860s, early 1900s, before the nationalist people decided to use it for their own perversions. This was used for, there was a New Age revival in America, actually all over the world during that time. And it's quite possible that that's all that is, and nothing to do with any kind of socialism whatsoever. But this is a beautiful cemetery, just even walking around. Definitely creepy. And maintained. I saw a guy walking around earlier. Looks like he's doing work here. I may go talk to him and see what he knows, if he experiences anything out here. But a lot of these graves also have a lot of Mason symbolism. Scottish Rite, looks like Knights of Columbus, looks like Freemasonry symbols. Here's a grave I've never seen before like this. It has symbols all over it. Look at this. Hold on. I don't know what that is. That may be Knights of Columbus. I'll have to look that one up. I'm not familiar with that one with the 3 triangles. But this was definitely an amazing hot spot for this weekend. I'm grateful to the police chief giving us permission to go in here after dark. We are very respectful the whole time we're here. Never leave a mess. We actually took some garbage out of here. We saw some trash. We actually packed it up. It was somebody else's. We actually took it with us. See, my car is way over there. But anyways, a great weekend. We're going to do a follow-up video. Our cameraman Kalani is putting together some fantastic footage of the weekend, including some drone footage and ghost hunting footage that we had for the whole weekend. This was great. We're definitely coming back. This is going to be, we're planting our flag here. This is going to be another location like the Thomas House where we come on a regular basis, because this is just too, the city just opens their arms up to us. They let us in. They say, enjoy yourself. We're helping this little town out as well. Not a lot of business, not a lot of people come here for any reason. And hopefully, look at these behind me. Hold on. That one's knocked over. You can see that somebody's been doing work here, pulling up weeds and roots, and this one here has a rose on it. Florence Parker, born 1821. You don't see monuments like that anymore going up. Or like that one over there. Look at that obelisk. Anyways, we had a fantastic time. Little recap of the whole evening. What we did is we started off, we had dinner at the Dutch Maid Bakery right downtown. It's the oldest continually operated bakery in Tennessee. We had dinner there. Actually, before we had dinner, we did a meet and greet downstairs with the Tennessee Wraith Chasers off History Channel, or I'm sorry, Travel Channel, a show called Haunted Towns. So everybody got to come in and get photos and autographs, take pictures, talk with the guys. And then after that, we let everybody go upstairs to the dining room where we had a catered dinner by the bakery. And it was fantastic. We had steak and chicken. It was delicious. And what I really liked was at the very end we had some of their desserts, some of the baked items that they have, and we had a moonshine cake. It was a watermelon moonshine cake and I think it was pina colada or something. I'm not really sure what it was, but it was key lime or something. It was delicious. No, margarita. I'm sorry. It was a margarita moonshine cake at the end. Fantastic. Then we did a little Q&A upstairs with the guys. They talked about what it was like to be on the show, where they're going next, how filming's going, things like that, what they experienced. All the questions you've always wanted to ask, you know, guys off TV, like, you know, what it's like, what's the best way to investigate, you know, what's their tips and tricks, things like that. And then I do a little presentation up there. I talk about the history and the haunts of the town, and I play some evidence and show some photos and let everybody hear some EVPs and things like that that we've captured on our last events here. After that, we broke into some small groups and we investigated the bakery, which we heard a whistle, we heard a little girl talking. I was talking, and as I'm talking about the cinnamon buns there, we capture a little girl's voice say, "Yum!" And it was so clear. We caught it 3 different times, same little girl. Amazing. And so we investigated there. Fantastic. There was a gentleman that died in the basement from a bad batch of his own beer. Sounds suspicious to me, as he was a 7th generation brewmaster from Germany. And then another kid died there by inhaling air from a compressor, and it popped his lung. And then another man was killed inside of a blender. There was a mixer, and he got dismembered. His arm got caught in it and just shredded the guy. Killed him there. And the mixer is still there. We got activity, mostly K2 activity around that. Then we came here to the city cemetery to investigate, where the hot spot was over here, where the grave is that has the symbol on it, and where the crypt is. That was our 2 hot spots that we went to. And then we went to the Camp Lake abandoned campsite, where there's a bunch of abandoned cabins there. Pretty good activity. That wasn't as much. We got some EVPs, some knocking. I personally heard with some guests somebody walking up into the cabin that we were in. Turned my light on, looked outside, nobody there. That was kind of neat. We saw some lights in the woods. It looked like flashlights or something, but they didn't quite look like they were just balls of light. I mean, it could have been somebody really walking around, but it was too far away and it was just through the woods. So I don't know who it could have been. And then we also went across the street to the campsite where people were camping out, and right behind there are some of the old coke ovens. And there's a lot of mayhem there. The coke ovens, this is a coal mining town, so what they would do is they would use prison labor to work these coke ovens. And if you don't know what coke ovens are, what they do is they mine the coal, they put the coal inside these giant beehive-looking ovens, and they cook it, and it hardens it. Then they ship all of the coal, or the coke now, to the blast furnaces in Birmingham, Alabama, specifically Sloss Furnaces. Sloss Furnace was one of the locations that we used to ghost hunt all the time. We don't get to ghost hunt there anymore. They don't do any kind of tours or anything. But that was the only episode that I was on, Ghost Asylum with the Tennessee Wraith Chasers. So it's kind of neat that the coal came from here to go to Sloss Furnaces. We had the Wraith Chasers with us, and that was the episode that I was on. So that's kind of neat. That's the only time I've ever mentioned that, too. I don't really talk about that much. But then, where did we go from there? Oh, yeah, we went to the coke ovens. And what would happen is, if you didn't work hard enough, rumor was, and it's all over town, that they would beat you to death and throw you in those coke ovens, and you were burned up. Those things ran 24 hours a day. And that was it. They just said you escaped, and there's no way to find anything. The prison ran it, so it's pretty abusive at that time. And then the cabins. So I talked about this 4 locations. We had a great time. Stay tuned. We're going to upload a previewer video that told a little bit about, or shows exactly kind of how the whole evening went, with some footage as well, ghost hunting footage, some drone footage. And then we have our live feed that's on also. So we'll upload that next, where we did about 2.5, 3 hours of live investigating. with the guys, with Mike and Chris and myself and all the fans. Amazing evidence on there. So I'll put the link below. Watch that. Thank you guys for all your support. Stay safe out there. Be kind to everybody. And we'll see you on the next hunt.